go to unit, I'll write it down. Unit 13. Yeah, right, guys. So that's how you have to you try to see. First thing, what I'll advise all of you is to first you understand the question, and then based on the question, you if you are if you have not read that particular concept in your textbook, మీరు చదవలేదనుకోండి, ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ ని మీరు ఏం చేయండి అంటే, మీరు ప్రెసెంట్ గా ఎలా ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ చేస్తున్నారు అంటే, మీరు ఇప్పుడు చదువుకుంటున్నారు, మీరు ఇప్పుడు యు ఆర్ పర్సూవింగ్ ఏ కోర్స్, యువర్ చిల్డ్రన్ మస్ట్ బి గోయింగ్, యువర్ చిల్డ్రన్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు స్కూల్. వాళ్ళ ఆ కాంటెక్స్ట్ లోపల హౌ దిస్ పర్టిక్యులర్ క్వశ్చన్ కెన్ బి అప్లైడ్, ఆ క్వశ్చన్ కి ఎట్లా ఆ క్వశ్చన్ అప్లై చేసి ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ ని అనలైజ్ చేసి చూడండి. So you will get a answer for that question. One second. So 13th unit and 13th unit, instructional materials. Yeah, introduction. So instructional materials. See, Manami, what is the first introduction? And introduction, as I told you in my previous class, that what you need to do is that you have to actually summarize the instruction for the answers. Konni ante oka instruction ni అంటే ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ని ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఒక మ్యాటర్ ఒక 2 paragraphs లోపల మీరు ఫిగర్ అవుట్ సమ్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, నేను ఒకటి సింపుల్ గా కామన్ గా బేసిక్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అబౌట్ ద ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ సిస్టమ్ ఇన్ ఇండియా అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ మీద ఒక 2-3 పర్స్పెక్టివ్ లోపల ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఫిగర్ అవుట్ చేసుకోండి. అండ్ దట్ వుడ్ గో ఇన్ టు ద ఇంట్రడక్టరీ పార్ట్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఇన్స్ట్రక్షనల్ మెటీరియల్స్ అనే దాంట్లో లాంగ్వేజ్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఎట్లా ఉందో చూడండి. ఈ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఇంకొక వేరే యూనిట్ లోపల కూడా the same introduction in a different way, in a different way ga the same meaning, with the same meaning it's been given in the other units also. So let us see what is there. Language acquisition నేను ఇది ఫస్ట్ నేను మీకు చెప్పేస్తాను, తర్వాత we will read the paragraph. What is there అండి? First language acquisition, that is natural communication in the real life. Language acquisition takes place through natural communication in the real life. మన మదర్ టంగ్ ఎలా నేర్చుకున్నాం? న్యాచురల్ అక్విజిషన్. మనం ఎందుకు అది రియల్ లైఫ్ లో యూజ్ చేస్తూ నేర్చుకున్నాం. చిన్న పిల్లల నుంచి కూడా ఫస్ట్ లాంగ్వేజ్ మదర్ టంగ్ అలాగే నేర్చుకుంటారు కాబట్టి. అండ్ దెన్ సెకండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఎలా వస్తుంది? 3 పర్స్పెక్టివ్స్ అండి. మనం ఒక లాంగ్వేజ్ నేర్చుకోవడానికి 3 రీజన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఫస్ట్ ఏంటంటే, ఫర్ అవర్ సర్వైవల్, ఫర్ అవర్ న్యాచురల్ గా మన వాట్ డు యు సే, లైక్ నీడ్స్ కోసము ఏదైతే లాంగ్వేజ్ నేర్చుకుంటామో, దట్ ఈస్ న్యాచురల్ అక్విజిషన్. A child cries for the milk and then asks for milk. So the mother and the child will understand why is the child crying. ఆ ఏడుపు అనేది తర్వాత the child will actually ask for few things. అమ్మ అంటుంది, వాట్ నీళ్ళు అంటుంది, అలా అన్ని నేర్చుకుంటారు కిడ్స్ కూడా. సో అది ఫస్ట్ లాంగ్వేజ్ ఎలా వస్తుందంటే, న్యాచురల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ ఇన్ ద రియల్ లైఫ్. అది ఒకటి ఫస్ట్ది, అది మదర్ టంగ్. అండ్ ద సెకండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ అక్విజిషన్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో, సొసైటీలో యూజ్ అవ్వడానికి ఒక సెకండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ నేర్చుకుంటాం. అంటే సొసైటీలో ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు assimilate ourselves in the society, what do? We will learn the second language. Maybe that is a regional language kaniyandi, lekapothe adi different language kaniyandi. So people who speak, whose mother tongue is Telugu, they will also know the, the regional language, that is, Hindi, many of them. So the second language acquisition that is also possible. Language learning can be possible for the in the social context also. And third ఏంటంటే, people learn another language, whether it is another language only for the specific purposes కోసం, అంటే maybe for education, for higher education, or for securing a job, or for going abroad. This is what we will learn that language, right? సో మనము సెకండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ అక్విజిషన్ అనేది ఏంటంటే, English. Our basic, target language is English. So English, when you learn English in an educational setting, ఏమవుతుంది, స్పెసిఫైడ్ కోర్స్ డిజైన్ చేసి అక్కడ ఇంట్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తారు ఆ లాంగ్వేజ్ ని. దట్ కమ్స్ అండర్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రక్షనల్ మెటీరియల్స్ అండి. That comes under instructional materials. అయితే ఇంకొక one more point I wanted to make it very clear is natural communication. First language acquisition will be comprehensive అండి. అంటే comprehensive అంటే holistic language we will understand. అంటే అది అక్కడ graded గా, we are not learning our mother tongue in a graded level, right? In a graded level అంటే మనము ఈ కొన్ని పాయింట్స్, ఈ కొంత లాంగ్వేజ్ కిడ్కి ఫస్ట్ లాంగ్వేజ్ గా అర్థమవుతుంది, నెక్స్ట్ లెవెల్లో వచ్చేసి అంటే తర్వాత ఈ ఛాలెంజింగ్ లెవెల్ లాంగ్వేజ్ నెక్స్ట్ లెవెల్లో అర్థమవుతుంది అనేది కాదు. అంటే I'll just put it in a simple way, guys. When a child is born into this world, the child first language is mother tongue. So when the child learns the language, it is like complete language. The child will be exposed to the language completely, not like a graded way, right? But when it comes to the second language acquisition, and then that too in an instructional settings, the child will learn in an incremental way, right from the basic to the challenging levels, and then to the higher levels of that proficiency of that language, right? అర్థమైంది కదండి. సో and then second language, ఏదైతే లాంగ్వేజ్ టార్గెట్ లాంగ్వేజ్ ఉందో ఇంగ్లీష్, that we will learn in an educational settings. And then for that we actually specifically address, context might be specifically address the component skills of the language, అంటే లిస్నింగ్, రీడింగ్, రైటింగ్ అండ్ స్పీకింగ్ స్కిల్స్ లాగా కాంపోనెంట్ స్కిల్స్ లోపల డివైడ్ చేసి then it will be taught in a educational setting. So that is, and then చూడండి ఇక్కడ, language acquisition takes place through natural communication in real life. Most people can need to use a language other than their first language, learn it through the exposure to an environment where a language is extensively used, right? Where the language, the most people can need to use a language other than their first language, learn it through the exposure to an environment where the language is extensively used. For example, in the environment in our society, Hindi is been very, very, very much used. For example, if you relocate yourself in Tamil Nadu, for example, and then there, what is the regional language? Regional language is Tamil, and then you will be exposed to that language in the environment, and then that would be learned automatically. And then third, language learning teaching also takes place in educational setting where there is an explicit specified course designs. So language can be natural acquisition untundi, language to acclimatize ourselves in the environment, that can also be learned by that way also. And language can be taught, can be learned in an educational setting where there is explicit specific course of design is there. ఇక్కడ language environment, extensive use of the language environment where language can be acquired, and then language can also be acquired in the educational settings where the course is designed specifically to achieve an objective, right? So that is how this is there. Language learning in this context might specifically address as component skills చెప్పాను కదా. So whenever a language is learned in a instructional settings, then the language is divided into component skills, and then they are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then the approaches of the teaching based on the theories of language and theories of language learning, and the appropriate methodology to be adopted or identified. So theories of language and theories of language learning. So these are the two aspects. Ikkada three aspects unnai. The approaches to the language teaching based on the theories of language and theories of language learning. Right, guys? Learning and the appropriate methodology and be adapted or identified. So appropriate methodologies will be identified to teach a particular course. Okay. So this is followed by means through which the methodology can be put into effective into the classroom. Classroom activities, methodology. Different teachers will follow different methodologies, and see, one set of materials is not applicable, as one cap is not one size cap doesn't fit everybody's head. In the same way, one set of a set of materials which are designed might not be applicable to might not be appropriate or applicable to all the learning groups. See, that's the reason why different different sets of materials are also there, and then curriculums are also there. That's how it is, right? And then coming to this next one, yeah, this would involve techniques to be used in the kind of active. So then how these materials are executed in the classroom. So kind of activities and tasks that would need to be performed, but all this cannot happen with the teacher. So how is a language learned in a classroom? Who actually caters the language learning? Who is the first basic what do I say? Like the teacher is the important person there, and then the teacher alone cannot, teach a language. So the teacher will be aided, or teacher will be resourced with some kind of materials, and then the materials will be explored by the teacher to train the learners in that particular, to train or to make them to train the learners in that particular language, right? So that is the basic fundamental introduction to this instructional materials, right? So and then material. So what materials? In what way materials help the teacher? It helps the teacher. Okay. So yeah, materials. What way materials materials help in bringing the language inputs into the classroom. How the materials help? It will bring the inputs into the classroom. What inputs means? Like how to teach, what are the contents? Through the contents, it will actually aid. See, what if there is no materials in the to teach English, to teach a language? How would the teacher, how would the teacher teach the learners that particular language? It is highly impossible, right? Isn't it not? When there are no materials, for example, if our textbook isn't there, so how would anybody teach a group of learners? What to teach them? How to teach them? To what extent they have to be taught? And from where the information has to start? These all things are like, they are meticulously, meticulously been designed So that is the way, that is the reason why materials are selected, designed, and then developed, so that the exposure to that particular language is optimized. That is how these materials are selected and designed. So, and then materials help in bringing language inputs into the classroom. Teacher exploits materials to help the language learning happen. So the teacher will help will actually exploit in the sense, use that material so that she can uh, teach the learners what they have to learn, right? So just coming to the next one. And then these materials will also actually aid the teacher with the valuable inputs of methodology also. The materials will also suggest some kind of particular methodology to a teacher. And see, it depends again on the background of the learners, whether that particular methodology which has been suggested by the, all of you, please understand this one. I'm trying to be very clear about this one. The materials are an aid to the teaching, and then they provide the teacher with the valuable help to adapt a particular method. And then this particular method, it is not that it is not necessary for the teacher to adapt that particular method which has been suggested in the material. They can actually adapt any kind of methodology which suits that particular group of learners. So, but the ultimate, with this one, the ultimate objective of learning of that particular language has to happen. That's how this is important. And so materials are like careers for the approach chosen, the methods adapted. They are like just a medium through which the language has been learned. And then they are also carriers of the methodology to be adapted. So, but with a slight variation in the methodology, depending upon the learner's background, and then the context, or whatever the area of whatever the background of the children, based on that, the teacher can actually take the aid of the materials to teach them the language. That is one important information. Materials form an integral part of the whole process of the language learning and teaching and institutional setup. So in an institutional setup, so materials are integral part. Without material, there is no teaching learning happening in any school. So all right from the kindergarten onwards, even the primary classes also, even the nursery, LKG, UKG, or whatever it is, even for them also there are materials, right? There are textbooks are there for them too, because textbooks actually, like, they serve as a medium to what they have to be, what that particular section of the learners have to learn. And then that is these are the this is the introductory part of the materials. And then coming to the kinds of instructional materials can be broadly classified into print materials and non-print materials. And the print materials, as you all understand, textbooks, workbooks, supplementary reading and teachers' books. And it may also include detachable handouts, also maps, also figures, etc., etc. So we all know these kinds of materials, right? Two different types, print and non-print material. Coming to the non-print materials, we have text matter as well as print matter can have text matter as well as supportive illustrations and diagrams. So this is all about the print material. So print materials are supplementary readers, textbooks, and all these things. And then they also include detachable handouts and maps. And then print material can have the text matter. Obviously, no, print matter means text matter, as well as supportive illustrations and diagrams will also be. Illustrations, examples, and exercises for language practices, tasks, and activities are built into the text material. So the text, this is a print material. And then coming to the non-print material. Non-print materials are nothing but CDs, right? Radio, television, audio, and video cassettes are all. These are non-print material. These are like using the technology, include media like radio, the television, audio, and video cassettes. right? These are the non-print materials. And then in addition, so are these the only non-print materials? Yeah. In addition to these non-print materials, this one, Relaya is another, can be brought in it. What is that? This REALIA, I checked for the pronunciation. You can also check for the pronunciation. Um, it is actually, don't. One second. Yes. Realia. Realia. The pronunciation for that is realia. Realia is nothing but objects that exist in the real life and could serve as did you all hear that, the pronunciation part is realia. This is then objects that exist in real life and could serve as a useful resource for the language teaching. I'll tell you for as an example for this realia, like in the kindergarten or in a primary sections, you must have seen the objects, right? The things that they have, all the vegetables and fruits in that plastic uh, the vegetables made out of the plastic material, and then these are realia. These are the objects that can exist in the real life and could serve as a useful resource for language teaching, especially in the initial stages. So I think you have clearly understood about this. Coming to the non-print materials, these are not only the non-print materials, but also this can be, realia can also be brought into the classroom, where the learner will actually, see and then understand about it. Computer assisted language learning, call is also another important language learning medium. So these are the non-print materials. So coming to another one, factors in the design and development of material. So what are the factors that one should, so who actually make these materials, right? Have you ever wondered who must have written this? What qualification do they have to make the materials and all that? Materials can be made by the highly educated, highly qualified people who actually, and many of them are qualified, and also some teachers, like who put in a lot of experience in the uh, teaching area. They also design the materials, guys. So the names of the design, the names of the resource persons, or the material writers will be there in the in the initial pages of our textbooks, right? So what is that criteria, and what will they have while writing? What do I say, like, what do they really think about how do they write about this material? So they have certain factors. They put certain factors as parameters, and then based on those parameters, they design and develop the materials. So what are those parameters? So before we set out to design and development, or even select materials for language instruction, we need to be clear about these things. Who our learners are, who are our learners, and then what their level of language proficiency is, what level they should be guided towards, what skills of the language they need training in, how many hours of instruction would be able to be able will be available in the curriculum, the positioning of the language in the curriculum, and the methodology to be adapted in the classroom. These are the factors that they keep in mind while before and while designing the materials, while designing and developing the materials. So, and then, yeah, you can actually, guys, are you able to understand this one? Kinds of materials, and then factors in designing and development of materials. I hope you have understood this one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We are understood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and then, so guys, we can actually go a little bit. Hmm. Yeah. So, and then one second. This one we will little bit we'll elaborate on these factors. You can just check in the this textbook. There is a information here. So based on that, uh, so all this would lead us to identifying the approach to the language teaching that we decide would be a most appropriate for a particular group of learners for the ends that they would that they would like to achieve. Once the approach is decided upon, the materials that would serve to fulfill the objectives. Yeah. So I first, one second, guys. I'll just we always, I think, um talk about, this one, right? What is that? Approaches. What do you mean by approaches? Approaches, you all understand, right? Yeah. So, yeah, in the first few chapters, it is there. First, you read those, uh, this particular unit, which one? The second unit, theoretical basis for classroom practices. It is the basic that I mean, fundamentals of this particular, this actually is like a foundation for this course on which the whole of the information or the chapters are being constructed. Like, they all depend on this particular chapter. That is, unit 2 is very, very important. So please read that chapter very thoroughly. Okay. And yeah, coming back to our lesson. Mm, So once this is decided, the approach is most appropriate, identifying the approach to language teaching that we decide we would be most appropriate for that. We decide what is most appropriate for a particular group of learners for the ends that they would like to achieve. Once the approach is decided upon, the material that would serve to fulfill the objectives of the course will have to be chosen. For example, here one example is given. If you understand this particular example, you will understand what are these factors, how are these factors, play an important role in designing and developing of the materials. So let us see for this example, which has been given in this textbook. For example, if a group of employees from a call center have registered on a course to improve their pronunciation, we might use CDs with pronunciation exercises on the lines of the audiolingual method. If another group is interested in improving their fluency, uh, yeah, a bank based on what is this? There is some error in this one. Okay. Based on CLT would be used with support by the teacher. The techniques used would involve group and pair work, role plays, simulation, and the like. So this is how the materials are designed. For example, that is what I'll just put it in without reading. I'll just tell you this one. See, when a call center people, when a group of call center executives or whoever it is wanted to improve their pronunciation, so these their based on their needs, okay, the organization or the institution um, will work out on the materials where this kind of pronunciation can be taught to those executives, call center executives, because pronunciation plays a very major role in their job, in their work environment, right? So that is how they're not, they shouldn't be taught on other parameters like grammar or anything else, like writing skills are not necessary for them. Only pronunciation is important. So for them, the materials are designed. So based on the learners, what do they need really? Okay. And then who are our learners? Call center executives are our learners. And then what are their level of language proficiency? That needs to be tested. And then based on that, what level they should be guided towards, and then how, to what extent they have to be guided. Should they be, are they really needed international pronunciation aspect, or like, are they okay with the, national kind of inter, in, at a country level pronunciation, like Indian pronunciation is okay for them, or are they conducting, are these employees are for working for an American company, so how their pronunciation has to be improved. Those all parameters has to be calculated, measured, and then the materials are to be designed. So that's how it is. And then coming to the interest in ensuring by paying attention to various, okay. Okay. Features of the materials. What is that? Now features of the materials. What are the features? One of the most important factors in the materials used for language teaching is interest. Students should find the text used interesting and useful. Motivation is an essential prerequisite for the learner, and this motivation can be secured by the materials that are interested, that are interesting. So features of the material. What features have to be there? What do you mean by features? Features and, for example, if you are buying వాషింగ్ మెషిన్, దాని ఫీచర్స్ ఏంటి అంటే అది ఎలా వర్క్ చేస్తుంది, దాని ఫీచర్స్ ఏంటి అంటే అది ఆటోమేటిక్ గా ఆఫ్ అయిపోతుందా, కరెంట్ పోయినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, లేకపోతే దానికి ఎలాంటి ఫీచర్స్ ఉన్నాయి దానికి అనేది మనం చూసుకుంటాం జనరల్ గా. అలాగే మెటీరియల్స్ డిజైన్ చేసేటప్పుడు కూడా వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఫీచర్స్ దట్ ఎ మెటీరియల్ షుడ్ హ్యావ్. అయితే దాంట్లో ఫస్ట్ ద ఫోర్మోస్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ ఇస్ దట్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనేది ఉండాలి. ఫస్ట్ ఏదైనా ఒక టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ చదువుతున్నాము, ఒక కోర్స్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే ఇట్ షుడ్ బి ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ టు లెర్న్. సో ఆ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్, అండ్ దెన్ వెన్ దెర్ ఈస్ and then motivation is also essential prerequisite for learning, and this motivation can be secured. Ante motivation ella secure aitadi, manaki motivation ela vastundante materials, when the materials are interesting, automatically the motivation will be there. So that is one important aspect. You have to understand this one. Interest in ensuring by paying attention to various factors. So interest ela vastundi, dentlo ఏం చేస్తే అంటే ఆ మెటీరియల్స్ లో వాట్ నీడ్స్ టు బి ఇన్కార్పొరేటెడ్, హౌ దీస్ మెటీరియల్స్ హ్యాస్ టు బి డిజైన్డ్, డెవలప్డ్ అండ్ డిజైన్ అంటే. సో ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఛాలెంజింగ్ లెవెల్. సో ఐ టెల్ యూ గైస్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, if a post graduate student is there, if he is taught like a small story like rabbit and tortoise and all that, will it be or like simple present tense is this one, and then this is what is simple present tense, these are the tenses and all that, that will not be there. That won't interest the learner, because his challenging level, there should be some challenge. Okay. Okay. How this challenging level has to be there? Like from familiar to the unfamiliar. Slowly it has to grade towards the unfamiliar. What is known to us, and then how do you find challenges, right? If you know, for example, cycling, and then you can cycle at 30 kilometers per hour, just for example I'm telling you. And then the challenging level is like, you put 50 kilometers per hour cycling. That is a challenging level. So what is familiar to the unfamiliar, that is how the challenging level interests a person in learning, learning something. Okay, that is challenging. Cultural content. And then what is cultural content? Cultural content is art, music, festivals, historical sites of the country would contribute to the interest. So this will also cultural context. So though it is though English is learned for international communication, but still in most academic and professional context. But it would be appropriate to relate, because it is appropriate to relate it to the content of the material to the Indian culture. So I'll tell you guys, cultural content. You must have all understood. The cultural content is like, for example, we discuss some textbooks have festivals, like festivals. Diwali is there now, because we live in this culture, we actually relate to that culture, so it interests them, right? What do we do in a textbook of 7th grade or an 8th grade will have a lesson on festivals, and then in that topic the different festivals are being discussed. So this is cultural context, so we will actually connect, because that will actually interest the learner also. And then coming to authenticity, authenticity is material should be the language of the material should be something that is used in the real life. Authenticity, that should be used in the real life. See, for example, I'll tell you guys, most of the literature students are prescribed this Shakespeare and then Bernard Shaw, or like other writers, novels, plays, etc., etc. So that is also interesting, because that would also interest. Some poetry is also in the textbook, right? So whatever the information, whether it is a Shakespeare's play or Wordsworth poetry, but what happens is that this literature will help us how to use the language. It is like a media through which we are learning the language. So the language of the textbook should not be far removed from the language that the learners are likely to encounter. So that will also help us in learning the language. That will become a media through which we learn the language. And but at the same time, the completely that kind of uh, textbooks or material really might not help us learning the language, might not interest us, because we really don't live in that context, right? So what is more important is present. Okay, in the real life is more important. That is authenticity. For example, if you talk about if you are like in the materials, if the information designed like this, right? Like AI is there. AI, if there is a topic on AI, it is more relevant to the learners, because this generation is Gen Z, whatever generation, whatever technological generation, who really connected to the technology. So that would interest them. That is authenticity, real life, context, situations, right? So that is how authenticity will always help. And then contemporaneity, meaning focus, and then variety, relevance, face validity, and visual and oral appeal. These are also visual and oral appeal will also interest, a learning process, right? For example, when the kindergarten or a primary child material, when they look into the materials, there are visuals, there are pictures are there. So these pictures actually very interesting. Like, some materials are also there, which when you open the text, when you open the cover page of the text of the book, there is a sound which comes, right? There's a music which comes. Okay. And then that will also really, grabs the attention of the child. That will actually interest the child to open the textbook and then hear that, see what is there in the, I think most of you must have seen this kind of materials, right? When you open the text cover page of the textbook, you will hear some kind of music. Have you heard about this kind of materials? Anybody has an idea about this?
Yes, ma'am. The birthday cards, greeting
Yes,
cards also we
exactly.
have seen.
Yeah,
Yes.
mostly in abroad, in US, there are so many. I mean, the kindergarten children will always, I mean, this kind of very, very colorful, very attractive pictures will be, there in the textbooks, which actually grabs the attention of the child. They will, you know, it will sustain the interest to learn something. That is how this, yeah, exactly. That's how these are the interest is ensured by paying attention to various factors. These are the various factors which ensure the interest of the ensure means which actually, grabs the attention of the children, which actually ensures the interest means it will interest the learners. So that is, this is all about the, the materials. So though materials always occupy the central position in the language learning context and then which needs to be really selected very carefully and then uh, see that the purpose of the uh, the purpose of the learners should be realized by the materials. Whatever the purpose of the learners to learn something has to be realized by the learner. So for that the materials are the aid, and then these are also not there. These are these will aid the teacher as well as the learner to learn the language. That is how this you can actually understand this one. So there ends we actually the unit 13, and then coming to the 14th and task design. And in this one, it's a very small unit. And then, yeah, if you want, you can actually, task design can be avoided. But anyway, I will discuss about the task design. Task, you all understand what is task, right? What is a task? Task is a work to be finished, right? So what is there in this one? Uh, okay. So there are three important the principles which underlying the task. I don't want to go with a descriptive part of this particular introductory part of the task design, because you can actually read and then understand what is there. But we will understand about the, this one. What is that? Task design. There are three underlying principles for the task. One is task exercise. The other one is activity. The third one is task. Many teachers do this naturally principle approach to task design, however, can systematized intuitive. Task design is how is it understood? Is this unit present examples of the task with underlying principles explained? Exercises, activity, and task. Okay. So if you want to have a general understanding, tasks are teacher education and teacher and autonomy to a certain extent led to lesser dependency on the prescribed materials and greater innovativeness in the teacher's development tasks and activities. Just guys, I'll just tell you, for example, materials, whatever materials that we have, okay, that will aid, that will support the teacher's activities in the classroom. But, the teacher is at the liberty to, design their own tasks for the children, right? Everything is not, according to the context or the environment of the learning, the teachers are at the liberty to design their own tasks, exercises, and then, activities, right? So that is what is discussed in this particular unit. And generally, textbooks are centrally produced by the small group of experts and practicing teachers. As I told you, this materials are designed only by a small group of experts. And then, as I told you, one set of materials cannot be, suitable for all the learner groups, right? Uniform materials for varied school situations are not effective enough. See, understand this one. Uniform materials means all the same. One set of materials for the 7th class students will not be sufficient, will not, be enough or like, suitable for all the schools in the country, right? For example, a rural area school where the 7th class is there. If you look at the 7th class textbook of that particular rural school of 7th class, might not be, the materials might not be same as the materials which are used in the in the same section of in the same level of class in the urban areas. That materials. So school situations are not effective enough and produce several sets of diverse conditions. So several sets of diverse conditions are there. So that's the materials should also be appropriate according to the situation. Many teachers do this naturally, and then they explore the materials and then they design. They try to come up with their own methodology wherein the learners are benefited by the materials, and then with the help of the exercises, tasks and activities of the activities which are practiced in the classroom. That is how it is. So an exercise focuses on the language form and practices. సో ఇక్కడ నేను ఏం చెప్పాను మీకు 3 terms చెప్పానండి. యాక్చువల్లీ ఒక టర్మ్ ఏంటి, ఎక్సర్సైజ్. నేను మీకు ఐ జస్ట్ టెల్ యూ దిస్ వన్ గైస్. ఎక్సర్సైజ్ మీరు ఇక్కడ పేజ్ నెంబర్ లోపల మీరు చూసుకోండి. 150 పేజ్ లో మీరు ఇఫ్ యూ గో టు ద 150 పేజ్, each one అంటే exercise. An exercise, what is an exercise focuses mainly? Exercise focuses on the language form and practices it through repetition. Form and repetition exercises. When you must have all observed this kind of exercises after the lesson, right? మనం ఒక గ్రామర్ టాపిక్ అయిపోయినాక ఎక్సర్సైజెస్ ఉంటాయి. అంటే లైక్ ఆర్టికల్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇన్ ద ఇంగ్లీష్ లాంగ్వేజ్, ఏ అండ్ ద. అవి దాంట్లో ఒక 2-3 ఎక్సర్సైజెస్ ఇచ్చి దే విల్ ఆస్క్ యూ టు ప్లేస్ ద use the appropriate article in the blanks అని ఇస్తారు. So exercises focuses on the language form and practices it through repetition. అది ఒకటి ఫస్ట్, అదొకటి పాయింట్ నోట్ చేసుకోండి. అండ్ టాస్క్ what is task then? Task demands authentic use of language to seek and get authentic information. Employing means that are authentically used in real life situations and gives experience of real language use. That is task. Like for example, information gathering. టాస్క్ అంటే ఇక్కడ ఒక ఎక్సర్సైజ్ ఇచ్చింది చూడండి. బి అనేది 149 లో there is a table and which the table there is a task given here. Given below is a language survey form. Talk to 5 of your classmates and fill in the form. Languages, home language, neighborhood language, city town language, school language. That is a survey. So task అనేది one activity and one kind of gathering information which is actually in the real life, through the language used in the real life. That means your task is to survey in a particular colony where how many children are going to school, how many children not going to school, which schools are they going. That is task. And then you go there, that is your task, and you go to that particular area or the slum and then do a survey using the language as communication and then gather that. So that is how the task is been, task is there. Tasks will be designed. And then coming to the third one, activity. And what is an activity? An activity involves doing something, transferring information from one kind of texture to another kind of representation. So, like the third one which is there, there is another example been given here. C is there, and then you are reading this one. Write the events below the corresponding dates. So, what you have to do that, read the following text, fill in the dates on the points on the timeline. So there are questions, and then reading that you have to activity, that is called activity. Okay, so read the textbook and then answer the questions. That is an activity. So fill in the blanks, that fill the dates in the corresponding events. So that is how. So the activity will never generate, the new language as is required for B. B, యాక్టివిటీలో ఒక న్యూ లాంగ్వేజ్ జనరేట్ కాదు లెర్నర్స్ కి యాక్టివిటీస్ లోపల. ఎట్లా బి టాస్క్ లోపల ఏదైతే ఒక బి అనేది టాస్క్ అనేది ఏదైతే చేస్తామో దాంట్లో న్యూ లాంగ్వేజ్ అనేది జనరేట్ అవుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఇన్ టు ద రియల్ లైఫ్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ వేర్ యు ఆర్ గ్యాదరింగ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. సో యూ టాక్ టు ద other people. So wherein you are getting some generating some kind of information. That is how it is task, and this is how uh, I think I am very clear about the task, activity and exercise, and so that's one thing. And task, so this is a task. You can read the rest of the descriptive part, and then we will go to the next unit. We'll try to figure out this one. One second. Yeah, 1 second, guys. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Chalo, let's continue with the class because I am just trying to what I am trying to do. Okay. So, guys, now the classroom interaction. This particular unit, 15th unit, and we'll just go to this one. So, what is the primary? So language in today's world is primarily for communication, right? Yeah, we use language. This is the how do we communicate? We use language only. Even in the technical field, also we need language. Need to explain. Technical field lo kuda, even if a person is technically good, but that person should also needs the language to actually explain technical. Uh, Whatever the technicalities that are there with his job related aspect to a lay person, right? Or not only to a lay person, but also with the, for example, if a computer, a programmer is there, if he has got a, client from America, then he needs to explain whatever is the product that he is selling to him. That needs to be emphasized. So that needs to be, uh, uh, I mean, information has to be passed to him. So everybody needs language, right? It is not enough for the professionals. It is not enough to read and write technical documents. They need to talk about their work and also simplify the Yeah, simplify them for others and can you see the this one PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, then now fine, fine, fine. So yeah, um, right. So this also they also it is not enough for the professionals to read and write the technical documents, but they need to they need to talk about their work and also simplify them in other words to the user. And international collaboration also necessitates a certain amount of social talk. So everybody needs to learn, understand the language. They need to know the language, right? So in other words, English for interpersonal communication is an emerging need. The class strength of the student in this one also, when you have the introduction, it is basic, right? Everybody needs language for communication internationally, socially, academically, everywhere we need language. Interpersonal skills, interpersonal skills. What do you mean by interpersonal skills? That is, how you present yourself while talking. That is more important. The class strength in the Indian school. So um, that is a very that's the reason why it is emerging need to learn the language, right? So but in the classroom of the class strength of Indian schools and colleges has engendered a culture of silence. Also, the transmission model of the education with the teachers as a knowledge giver and the questionnaire in the classroom has not allowed for free expression in any language. So, what is the basic problem here is that when the learners, in the traditional methodology of teaching, where the teacher is actually, knowledge giver, and then the teacher will only, keep talking there. So students are passive receivers, and then that is the reason why it will not give an opportunity for the learners to open their mouth and then speak to, and then the ratio of the proportion of the teacher and the student ratio is also unbelievably, very high. So we just really don't, you know, uh, really venture out on giving opportunities for the learners to speak. When you give this kind of opportunity in the classroom for the learners to speak, then the classroom will be a chaos. So that's the reason why the teachers always like they want a silent class. So the teacher only speaks, and then the rest of the participants will always be a silent spectators, mute spectators, right? So that needs to be changed. That has to be, we have we have really understood the drawback of this kind of traditional teaching setting, and then we are evolving into a, more of uh, you know more into functional and communicative approach to the approach in the classroom. So wherein the children needs to, participate in different activities like debates or elocution, some speeches, speaking on the dais and all that functional. And so this is how classroom introduction is there. So all this has resulted in the knowledge about the language not getting activated for the language use. So it is kind of traditional teaching methodology will never give a scope for the learner to express themselves in the real life situations, guys. That is the most simple and basic, leave aside the accuracy and then the fluency, appropriacy and all that. The child will never speak, I mean, in a child who has been fostered by this kind of teaching methodology will never dare to speak in the real life situation. So, which we need to address this kind of problem in our educational settings. So, that is how, where the kind of need for the interaction is always there. So, for this need for the interaction, classroom interaction, what are what are the things, the teacher, classroom interaction techniques are also there. So although it is included audio lingual methods and uh, hence work in the classroom was whole class activity followed by the teacher modeling and individual activities. All these are all will aid, will help the learner to, um, speak in the classroom. So, Vygotsky's social interactionism, principles of learning, and the Delham's view of the communicative competence to include social linguistic competence are the theoretical props for the necessity of the classroom interaction. So, this you please understand this one, communicative competence to include social linguistic competence. Social linguistic competence is not nothing but appropriacy. With the basic thing is that appropriacy are theoretical props for the necessity of the classroom interaction. You have to bring this communicative competence into the classroom where when you interact socially, when you interact in your real life situations socially, then how you need to conduct yourself, how do you need to use the language, that all been taken care by the, that's been technically assessed, observed, and then monitored by the teacher, so that the child will have enough courage to speak in a particular language, in a target language, when they go out of the classroom. That's the most important thing, guys. You read this particular unit also. And then coming to another one, I just wanted to tests and different types of tests are there. Issues in testing is also there. In the issues of testing, reliability is there. I just want to focus on this one, reliability testing. The unit is issues in testing. I'll just tell you one thing, guys. Issues in testing. When you test a student, what aspects do you really focus on? So reliability is one aspect which needs to be addressed first. What is that reliability? See, for example, I'll just give you one example which is there in your textbook itself. So when a student is coming to write the examination to the uh, when a student is coming to write an examination to the school, that if what if he meets he met with an accident. Okay, what will happen? What is a psychology? What is the status of his mind at that particular moment when he comes to the school? Will he be able to write? See, you must be seeing the child from couple of years, and then you understand that that the student is very good in his academics. But when while he was coming to the school to write the examination, he met with an accident, and then and then when the test results come, uh, what would be the result of that student? It could be, um, see, can you rely on his marks when he gets less grades and less marks? So that is called reliability. Can you rely on the marks? Okay, external factors in, these are the issues in testing. See, for example, when a child does very hard work to pass with a first class marks or good grades, but what if the child actually encounters with the unprecedented kind of incident on his way to the examination center? Do you think that this boy would be performing very well, will perform very well in his examination? And then the marks that he gets, are they reliable? So that is one thing, guys. So that is reliability, and the validity is also there. Just go through the units and try to do your best in your examination. Hope you will always you will all pass with the colorful marks in your examination. Just try to read, guys. It will help you to improve your language, vocabulary, and then writing skills as well. So try to do that. Hope you have understood the class, I think. Right, guys?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. Sorry, actually, I couldn't, completely finish all the units, but it's okay. This is just take the guidance, take the, how it works, and then do the reading. Whatever we teach, all the counselors, they only, rely on this material, and then whatever we teach, it is always there um, in the text materials. Thank you so much, and then have a great day. All the best to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Hello? Hello? Anybody there? Sorry,
Yes,
Ramana,
ma'am.
the class is up to 4:45, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I actually thought it is only 4:30. It's up to 4:30. So I logged out and I logged in again. Any questions, guys? Actually, so since you're all there, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So how are you? You all have the material with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
So yeah, try to concentrate more on this one, right? The first couple of units, and then the last unit is also very important, guys. Now you concentrate more on 18th unit issues in testing also. Type of test items is also very important. The test items, what are the test items? Can any one of you tell me what are the test items? Kinds of tests at least?
Objective tests and subjective tests are there.
Yes. Yeah. Direct testing and indirect testing, Andy. Okay. There are kinds of tests are two types of tests are there, direct testing and indirect testing. Direct testing is write, for example, if you ask a child to write a letter or a paragraph on a topic like global warming. So that is direct test. Right. And then the indirect test is like, you will give an exercise and then ask the student to fill in the, fill in the,
Kind of choose one
fill in the
one
blanks and
among
all that.
the four.
Yes. You are testing appropriate linkers or grammar part and all that. That is indirect testing is there. And performance
You're
reference.
teaching with the,
Sir?
you're teaching with the materials and teaching material. The question is sorry, madam.
Teaching?
What is the difference? What is the difference between teaching with materials and teaching materials and each other?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. teaching the materials, teaching the content, teaching the material and teaching with the material. See, teaching with the material means you are actually using this as a prop to, learn the language. See, for example, I'll just give you one example through the materials. Like, for example, if the material, see, there is an example. If the children are given as an example, so there is a conversation in the textbook, for example, but there is a written communication, written dialogue writing is there in the textbook. So the two students will perform that act, that conversation, and then take that as an example, and then you give a hypothetical or situation, and then taking this as a parameter, they will have to develop on that particular context. That is through materials. Have you understood, sir? See, ఏదైనా
వన్స్ అగైన్ రిపీట్ చేయండి మేడం.
ఇదేం లేదండి, నేనేం చేస్తానంటే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, నేను ఒక ఇస్తాను. ఏంటది? ఒక కన్వర్సేషన్ ఇస్తాను. ఏది? ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఒక అతను వెళ్ళి బ్యాంక్ అకౌంట్ ఓపెన్ చేయాలి. అయితే ఆ స్టూడెంట్ వెళ్ళి బ్యాంక్ మేనేజర్ తో మాట్లాడుతున్నాడు. సార్, మే ఐ కమ్ ఇన్? స్టూడెంట్, మే ఐ కమ్ ఇన్ సార్? ఎస్ ప్లీజ్ అని బ్యాంక్ మేనేజర్ చెప్తాడు. సో అలా ఒక కన్వర్సేషన్ బుక్ లో ఇస్తారు. అది ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ గా, ఒక శాంపుల్ గా తీసుకొని పిల్లలకి టీచర్ చెప్తుంది. సో దిస్ ఈస్ హౌ, ఈ సెంటెన్సెస్ ఇలా వాడతారు అని చెప్పేసి అది బేస్ గా తీసుకొని ఇంకొక సిచ్యువేషన్ లో, నౌ యూ డెవలప్ ఏ కన్వర్సేషన్ ఆన్ ఫిల్లింగ్ అప్, buying a ticket in a railway counter. So how will you approach how this ఇది బేస్ గా తీసుకొని వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఆ ఒక కన్వర్సేషన్ ని డెవలప్ చేస్తారు. దట్ ఈస్ హౌ టీచింగ్. సి, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇంకొకటి ఏంటంటేనండి, ఒక చిన్న స్టోరీ ఇచ్చారు.
అది మెటీరియల్ అవుతుందా? ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇచ్చింది ఒక టాపిక్ ఇస్తాం కదా, అదే సపోజ్ ఒక సిచ్యువేషన్ మీరు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు కదా, అది మెటీరియల్ అవుతుందా? అది మెటీరియల్
అవుతుంది. Through that, you are giving a different, task, or you are giving a different task. అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇంతకుముందు
సిమిలర్ గా
చేయాలి. అది త్రూ మెటీరియల్. టీచింగ్ ద మెటీరియల్ అంటే ఏంటి? అందులో ఉన్నది అది కాంప్రిహెన్సివ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటాయి దాంట్లో. ఆ మెటీరియల్, ఇప్పుడు ఒక స్టోరీ ఉంటుంది, ఆ స్టోరీ చదువుకోవడం, దాని కింద ఉన్న క్వశ్చన్స్ రాయడమే. అంటే దానికి పెద్దగా ఫోకస్ అనేది, రోట్ లెర్నింగ్ చేసిన ఫోకస్ అనేది ఉండదు. రోట్ లెర్నింగ్ చేసినా కూడా వాళ్ళకి వచ్చేస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు
క్రియేటివిటీ ఉంటుంది దీంట్లో.
మెటీరియల్స్, టీచింగ్ విత్ త్రూ మెటీరియల్స్, దెర్ విల్ బి క్రియేటివిటీ, దెర్ విల్ బి ఇన్నోవేటివ్ ఐడియాస్. అలాంటివన్నీ కూడా త్రూ మెటీరియల్స్ తోనే వస్తుంది అన్నట్టు. సో దట్స్ హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ అండి. ఇట్స్ వెరీ నాట్ వెరీ కాంప్లికేటెడ్. అదర్వైజ్
అంటే మనం ఒక్కసారి 2 సార్లు చదివితే చాలు.
ఎస్ అండి, దట్ ఈస్ ద బేసిక్.
కాకపోతే మామూలుగా కాంప్రహెన్సివ్ మామూలుగా అసలు ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ నుంచి అసలు ఫస్ట్ స్కూల్స్ అవి గురించి కూడా చదవాలి కదా మేడం. అది డిఫరెంట్ స్కూల్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, రూరల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ లో కొన్ని, స్ట్రీట్ కార్నర్ లో అని చదివాం కదా. అవన్నీ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, అన్ని మొత్తం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి కదా.
అన్ని అవసరం లేదండి, అన్ని అవసరం లేదు. అది యాక్చువల్ గా ఆ డిఫరెంట్ అవసరం లేదండి. అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ద ఇంగ్లీష్ క్లాస్ రూమ్స్ అవి
మేము మామూలుగా నేను జస్ట్ ఊరినే చేస్తున్నాను నేను.
అయ్యో పర్వాలేదు సార్, పర్వాలేదు. గుడ్ థింగ్. ఐ హ్యాడ్ స్టూడెంట్స్, నాకు ఒక ఇయర్ లో అయితే ఒక గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టూడెంట్స్, ఆయననైతే రిటైర్ అయిపోయారు. వాళ్ళ గ్రూప్ లో ఒక 8.
62 ఏళ్ళు నాకు, 2 years అయింది. జస్ట్ అంటే ఎట్లా కొంచెం నాలెడ్జ్ పెంచుకుందాం అన్న ఉద్దేశంతో చేస్తున్నాను. అందుకని ఈ స్కూల్స్ గురించి నాకు పెద్దగా తెలియదు. బీఈడి స్టూడెంట్స్ వీళ్ళకైతే బాగా తెలుస్తుంది. నేను డైరెక్ట్ గా బిఎస్సి, నేను ఇంతకుముందు 40 years బ్యాక్ అది కొంచెం తెలుగు మీడియం కాబట్టి కొంచెం ఇంగ్లీష్ కూడా కొంచెం
పర్వాలేదు సార్, నో
టచ్ లోకి
ఇష్యూస్.
వస్తున్న ఉద్దేశంతో
యా,
జాయిన్.
నో ఇష్యూస్ సార్. యాజ్ మనం ఎంత చదివితే రీడింగ్, ఎక్స్టెన్సివ్ రీడింగ్ విల్ ఆల్వేస్ హెల్ప్ అస్ ఇన్ ఇంప్రూవింగ్ అవర్ లాంగ్వేజ్ అండి. బేసికల్ గా వీ ల్యాక్ అవర్ రీడింగ్ స్కిల్స్ కానివ్వండి, బట్ అదర్వైజ్ దే విల్ డెఫినెట్లీ హెల్ప్. It is actually a companion also. Book is always a companion. You will improve, you will be entertained, you will be motivated. There's so many things. So
కోర్స్ మీద
అన్ని
చాలా
కూడా
బాగా ఇచ్చారు.
you will
సింపుల్ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో ఇచ్చారు, చక్కగా ఇచ్చారు లాంగ్వేజ్. కోర్స్ చాలా బాగుంది.
ఎస్ సార్, ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ వెరీ యూస్ఫుల్. మీరు అంటారు అది యాక్చువల్ గా ఇది నెట్ స్లెట్ కి కూడా ఈ మెటీరియల్ ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ వెరీ అప్రోప్రియేట్, చాలా బాగా పనిచేస్తుంది. అసలైతే నెట్ స్లెట్ రాసే వాళ్ళు ఈ మెటీరియల్ చదువుకుంటే, అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ పీజీ ఫస్ట్ అండ్ సెకండ్ ఇయర్ చదువుకుంటే థరో ఉంటే క్వాలిఫై ఈజీగా అయిపోతారు. అలా అంత బాగుంది మెటీరియల్ కూడా. ఇప్పుడు డిగ్రీ కాలేజెస్ లో కూడా ఇంత స్టాండర్డ్ లేదండి. యాక్చువల్ గా పీజీ కాలేజెస్ లో కూడా ఇంత స్టాండర్డ్ గా లేదు మెటీరియల్. ఇది మెటీరియల్ యా,
డిజైన్ చేసిన వాళ్ళు మంచి
చాలా
జాగ్రత్తగా చేశారు.
అవునండి, అవునండి. యా, సో అది సార్ యాక్చువల్ గా దిస్ ఇస్ హౌ వీ హ్యావ్. ఆఫ్లైన్ ఉండుంటే బాగుండేది మొత్తం ఇంతకు ముందులాగా, బట్ ఇది కూడా హైబ్రిడ్ మోడ్. వీ హ్యావ్ టు గెట్ యూస్ టు. We have to get used to, we have to, make up our minds that this is how our future is going to be. Mostly, ఇంకా చాలా చేంజెస్ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ సెక్టర్ లో దేర్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు బి మెనీ చేంజెస్ ఇయర్స్ అహెడ్ అండి. తర్వాత వచ్చే కాలంలో చదువు అంతా కూడా టీచింగ్ మెథడాలజీస్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ విల్ చేంజ్. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ అఫ్ కోర్స్ మనమే చూస్తున్నాము ఇప్పుడు, మనమే యాక్చువల్ గా చేంజ్ అనేది చూసాం ఈ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ సెక్టర్ లోపల.
టీచర్ పాత్ర కూడా తగ్గి,
టీచర్ పాత్ర అబ్సల్యూట్,
రోల్ ఆఫ్ ది టీచర్ కూడా మినిమైజ్ అయినా,
చాలా చాలా వరకు తగ్గింది. ఇంకా ఫ్యూచర్ లో ఏఐ వస్తే ఇంకా ఏమవుతుందో చెప్పలేము.
అదే ఏ ప్రభావమే ఎక్కడికి తీసుకెళ్తుందో తెలియదు.
ఎస్ అండి, అవునవునవును.
బాగా చక్కగా ఎంకరేజ్ చేశారు బాగానే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. రైట్ అండి, ఐ థింక్ జ్యోతి, are you there, జ్యోతి?
5 members ఉన్నారు మేడం.
అంతే సార్, అదే 5 members, 3 members ఉన్నారు. మీరు,
నేను,
శ్వేత అండ్ జ్యోతి ఉన్నారు. అండ్ ఇందాక 11 or 12 ఉండే. ఇది ఏంటంటే లైవ్ స్ట్రీమ్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి దే కెన్ యాక్చువల్లీ go back to the same session again. But I don't think people will have that kind of patience to listen online. మళ్ళీ అది రిపీట్ అయ్యి మళ్ళీ వీడియో చూడాలంటే nobody would be interested అండి యాక్చువల్గా.
చేస్తున్నాను ఆ పని, ఎందుకంటే నేను ఎక్కువ వినటం ద్వారా నాకు లాంగ్వేజ్ డెవలప్ అవుతుంది. ఇప్పటిదాకా తెలుగు మీడియంతో చేశాను కాబట్టి నేను అందులో 40 years చదువుకు దూరంగా ఉన్నాం కాబట్టి వినటం ద్వారా నాకు కొంత మీ ఫ్రేజెస్ అవన్నీ కరెక్ట్ గా యూసేజ్ కరెక్ట్ అవుతుంది.
ఎస్ అండి, ఆల్వేస్ ఈ స్కిల్. నేను ఒక్కటే చెప్తానండి, ఎంత మన ఇయర్స్ ఆ లాంగ్వేజ్ కి ఎక్స్పోజ్ అయితే అంత మనకి లాంగ్వేజ్ వస్తుంది, అది ఖచ్చితంగా వస్తుంది. అండ్ దెన్ ఒక్కసారి మనం అది ఆ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ లెవెల్స్ వచ్చేసాయంటే వీ కెన్ యూజ్ ద లాంగ్వేజ్ ఎనీవేర్, ఇన్ రియల్ లైఫ్ సిచ్యువేషన్ లో కానివ్వండి, రైటింగ్ స్కిల్స్ లో కానివ్వండి యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు మనం. యూ స్టార్ట్ రైటింగ్ ఆల్సో సార్, వెన్ ఎవర్ వాట్ ఎవర్ యూ ఫీల్, ఇఫ్ యూ కీప్ రైటింగ్. చూడండి ఒకసారి, you start practicing this kind of skill, write whatever comes through to your mind, you start writing in this particular language, and then see oka 1 month tarvata you see the the change that
టెక్స్ట్ మెసేజ్ చేస్తున్నాను, దానిలో చాలా ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్ వచ్చింది. అప్పుడు పాత నాలెడ్జ్ మళ్ళీ రివైవ్ అయింది అనమాట.
it's a good thing sir, it's a good thing actually. కానీ అంత ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ చాలా మంది, అంతకు ముందు చాలా మంది వచ్చేవాళ్ళు అండి. 100 students అంటూ ఈజీగా వచ్చేవాళ్ళు. ఇప్పుడు ఆన్లైన్ వెరీ ఫ్యూ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ఆర్ కమింగ్. అంటే మోస్ట్లీ ఎవ్రీబడి, మెనీ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ఆర్ సో బిజీ, సాటర్డేస్ మిస్ అవుతున్నారు. సో దే ఆర్ లూజింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఆన్ సండేస్ ఆల్సో ఐ థింక్.
ఏదైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ మీద ఎక్కువ కష్టపడాలి, హార్డ్ వర్క్ ఉండాలి.
ట్రూ. సో యాక్చువల్గా మార్నింగ్ సెషన్స్ లో ఎంత మంది ఉన్నారు సార్? కెన్ యూ గివ్ మీ?
అన్ని తక్కువేనండి, 12, 13, మాక్సిమం 14. శ్రీరామ్ సార్కి ఎక్కువ 14-15 మంది, ప్రజల సార్కి కూడా 14-12 అంతే.
ఓకే ఓకే
కూడా
సార్.
10 లోపే అనుకుంటా.
యా యా
మీకు కూడా బాగానే వచ్చారు.
యా.
మీరు
సో
చాలా స్పీడ్గా అర్థమయ్యేటట్టు చెప్తారు. అశ్విన్ సార్ అని ఒక ఆయన చెప్పేవాళ్ళు,
సార్.
ఆయన ఇప్పటిదాకా చెప్పిన వాళ్ళు ఆయన నంబర్ 1 అనిపించారు.
యా 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 కొంతమంది ఎస్ అంటే యాక్చువల్ గా సార్ ఇది నాకేంటంటే యాక్చువల్ గా ఇది కొంచెం ఆన్లైన్ అనేసరికి ఆ మైండ్ స్టక్అప్ మైండ్ ఉంటది నాకు కొంచెం. ఇది ముందు నుంచి నాకు ఇష్టం లేదు ఆన్లైన్.
చక్కగా చెప్తున్నారు, స్పీడ్ గా చెప్తున్నారు, అర్థం అవుతుంది.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ అండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ రమణమూర్తి గారు. సో 45 అయిపోయింది. ఐ థింక్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు ఎండ్ అవర్ సెషన్. ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ అండి. ఆల్ ది బెస్ట్ సార్.
ఓకే మేడం, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Thank you, ma'am.